Okay, so hopefully just a short clip here, just to talk about this next point of the chapter before we have a look at example 2. Hypothesis test with an alternative hypothesis in the form that of basically the last one we did from the example we've just seen, which was example 1. If we're saying that the coin is biased towards heads or biased towards tails, what we're going to end up with is a probability less than or probability greater than as our alternative hypothesis. But here's the thing, if I don't know which way the coin is biased, and I just want to say, well, is it biased in any direction? Is it biased in either direction, heads or tails? Then what we're going to do, instead of saying, well, the probability should be less than a half or greater than a half, what we're going to say is the probability just isn't equal to a half. So we've got the not equal to sign. Now, the difference between these two tests is that this one, because I'm only ever looking in one direction, either less than or a greater than, then this is called a one-tailed test. However, if it could be either direction, I'm only really interested in the probability not being equal to something. I just want to test if it's not what I thought, regardless of the direction, then this then becomes a two-tailed test, because we're essentially going to say, well, it could go either way. From the middle, it could go to the right or it could go to the left. We call that a two-tailed test. As we said before, we assume the null hypothesis is true, and then consider how likely the observed value of the test statistic was to occur. Now, if that goes past a given threshold, we call that the significance level of the test, and we can reject the null hypothesis. So I'm going to go into this a little bit in example number 2 in more detail, but typical levels for significance, 10%, 5%, 1%. So we want to know with either a 10% certainty, a 5% certainty, or a 1% certainty, whether we can reject that null hypothesis and actually accept the new thing that we're being told. Can we reject what we assume it should be and go with what maybe somebody else is telling us it could be? Okay, example number 2 will be on YouTube.